Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Bran 1 on deck. Gents, how's it going?
Bran 1. It was good, right?
Fine chapter.
I wanted to say it was good, but now I can't think of why it was good, right? Like, I mean, we kind of didn't get any new information really, other than they're still alive and hiding out where they might be
if you're
heading.
Nelson, you like it because it's a war chapter.
A third of it is like in summer, yeah, so that's a big part of it. The other thing is we do learn stuff. We learn like kind of more about the magic-y side of stuff. Like jraijin kind of has like a monologue where he gives us like, okay, here's the difference between this, and like this is how this works type thing.
It just wasn't exciting, really. I don't know.
I think it's a pretty average chapter.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I wanted to say it was good, and then I was like, wait, why did I think it was good? And I couldn't think of a single reason. So,
all right. Well, here's a short summary. He starts off in summer. He attacks a pack of wolves. He wins. He gets brought back. He has a little convo with jraijin about how he's got to not just be all in summer. He's got to stay Bran, and then they decide what their next move is going to be. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we really learned much except for maybe a little bit more about jraijin and Mira.
Well, and Bran, like when he's like fully embracing this, and like I don't know how to say it like eloquently, but like I assumed like he would be like friends with these other wolves, right? Like especially we think Nymeria, right? Lady's dead. Nymeria could be out there. We think she's like in league with wolves. So like, why can't Bran? But no, he's just like, fuck that. I'm gonna go fight this pack of wolves, and like I just want to like kill this other these are kind of his friends. I mean, he even acknowledges they're his cousins, and like they're I know the Starks are the dire wolves of the north, and like I guess that's kind of the stretch of the metaphor that I was getting to eventually is like, sure, we're kind of the same, but we're not the same. Like, because that's even kind of where he ends at the end of the chapter. And I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm sorry. I'll let you.
Yeah, this is where I'm coming in. Like, I'll kind of hit on two things. Kind of Summer's mindset and then Nymeria, because just like I have a thought on both. Summer is already like running through like, I'm the prince of these woods. Like, these are my woods. So he's got like a very big alpha mentality. So I think he's just like, oh, fuck, another alpha. Like, all right, I got to fight you because I'm an alpha. You can't be the alpha. So I think that's where Summer's mind's at. And then Nymeria, like, it's curious to think of how Nymeria, because we think she's in this pack, right? It's assumed that there's packs running wild. Nymeria's in the middle of it, right?
Well, and our last Arya chapter, it seemed like she worked at the very end. It seemed like she attacked the mummers or whatever.
So to what you're saying, Jeff, I
didn't finish my point. Let me finish it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, so how did Nymeria get to become alpha of that pack? Like, maybe this is the beginning of how Summer would now have cousin little wolves around. Like Nymeria came upon a pack. She's already through alpha, this phase, and now she's like, all right, now I'm your alpha. And maybe they just keep going around alpha and other wolf packs. I don't know.
That makes sense because she's been out in the wild for longer than Summer has. But where I was thinking was like the difference between like the people that they're connected to. Like maybe because Nymeria wasn't close to Arya for a while, like she went off and like got her own like. But because Summer was always close to Bran, or at least they had that connection. But then Kyle reminded that like Arya is still connected to it, so that doesn't quite.
Well, I mean, Summer's been locked behind a wall. It's not like Summer's been out running rampant in the whatever they call it, the Kingswoods, or
he has for a little bit.
Not nearly as much.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is this chapter starts a lot like the last Bran chapter, where he was down in the crypts, right? And jraijin's like, "Hey, you can't do this too long."
Yeah, I actually wasn't sure which crypts they were in at the beginning.
Yeah, they're in a tomb again, basically, like underground in a cellar. But what I was gonna say is like, why is Summer like fighting these wolves? Is like, it kind of makes me think like Bran kind of got bullied like the last book by like the Walders and stuff, and now he has this power.
For sure, he's in a shitty place,
so he gets to bully the other wolves now.
I know, but it just feels like his whole life he's got the wolf's blood. He is a wolf, and then here he is like,
I'm just saying, like a little kid.
I'm the best wolf, but I'm gonna also fuck up these other wolves because like that's just what wolves do. But you would think he would be like Bran as a person. Seems like he, and I mean I don't want to say Bran the Builder, but like Bran the Builder, right? Like maybe that's where I'm kind of getting this notion. Like he's supposed to be like building these relationships. You would like he seems more friendly than he does kind of aggressive. And I mean maybe that's why it's coming out in this status or in this state, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just differences,
Yeah.
and just kind of where I'm at. And I guess we're never gonna get to an answer.
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing for Bran, and I honestly think we're probably taking a lot of the beginning of this chapter. But Bran,
It's good.
I don't think we're wasting time. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bran wanted to be a knight, right? So he probably did have this aggressiveness to him. He wanted to fight people. He wanted to be in the battle.
Be the best. Yeah.
He's getting back to.
Yeah, exactly. This was his dream, was to do stuff like this, and now he has a way to do it. But it just, like I said, first off, it seems very unfair. This wolf is giant, and then, just like kind of malicious and like, yeah, I'm gonna go steal their kill. Like, go find your own fucking deer, Bran.
Yeah,
Like,
it is pretty lazy. You little rat, Bran. But
go eat some frogs.
Yeah. But it starts off him and the wolf. He runs up this hill. He's as Summer runs up the hill. He hears like some whisperings of Prince of like.
Which at the beginning I was like, oh man, I hope this is the fist of the first men.
Summer jumped the wall.
Yeah. But then I was like, I was like, no, that's kind of like, because
Summer's
I was
been
like trying to
running.
like, think of like man structure, like because the wolf mentions like these weird words. And I'm like,
Yeah.
is it headed up there? And then it didn't pan out. Anyway.
Yeah, so he's up at the top of the hill for a while, sees some movement down below, and then this is where he thinks back to his family. And this is weird, like when he thinks back to the other wolves, he like excludes Ghost.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely weird.
He thinks his angry brother with the hot green eyes wasn't too far away, but he was basically the last one to leave. Everyone else was scattered.
That's Shaggy Dog, right?
Shaggy Dog, right? And that's because Bran and Rickon split up at the end of last book. Like,
yeah, because
Rickon
they
went
couldn't
off
be
with Osha.
together.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Lewin just said split them up. Like, I think.
Yeah,
Lewin's
because
good idea.
well, they couldn't be together because if they find one of you, then you're both dead.
Yeah, exactly. So then he says everyone was scattered like leaves by the wind. Sometimes he could sense them, though, as if they were still with him, only hidden from his sight by a boulder or a strand of trees. He could not smell them nor hear their howls by night, yet he felt their presence at his back. All but the sister they had lost. So this is where you're talking about. That's Lady, right?
Lady, yep.
And there was 4 of them now, not 5, 4 and one more, the white with no voice. So that's Ghost. It makes sense that it's Ghost, right? Ghost never
And he
makes
calls
any
him the
noise,
silent
and he's
one
white.
too, right?
Yeah, the one with no voice is what he says. Because Ghost never makes any noise.
The one with no voice. Yeah. Interesting.
Which is kind of weird. Like, why is Ghost not part of the crew? I mean, John. It makes sense because John's not part of the crew, but like, is this wolf a bastard? Like, how does that even make sense? They're of the same litter,
I mean,
right?
it does kind of, right? But it seemed like the runt from the beginning, right?
For sure, the runt.
that's
Yeah.
like
it was the
kinda
run and kicked away from the group. It was kicked away from the group, right? Or at least
Yeah.
it was fucking
And it's
laying
like
there.
albino,
Like,
right? Like that's why
Yeah,
it's white.
so
with
I
red
mean-
eyes.
I feel like that could be like part of the problems, right? Or the
disconnect.
I mean, it's obviously set up to be the family. I mean, I think we figured that out at the beginning of book 1.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I mean, that's what like John convinced Ned.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you need to take these.
Yeah. So like, I mean, that was like, I know, but I mean, I guess like that's even why it was written that way, right? Like, I don't think there's a great reason for why there were 6 and why this one is the runt with no voice, other than there's kind of that in
Yeah.
the family. Although he's not the runt. I don't know, but
He was.
Jon Snow is
John.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So yeah, this is what you were thinking, Kyle, when Summer's thinking about Lady, he says like, oh, she went off into the halls of Manrock, and once in those halls where there was like other hunters, it was hard to get your way out, right? And this is Summer talking about just like living inside castles, which doesn't really make sense because he was living inside a castle for a long time too. But and like Lady, like he lived inside a castle for longer than Lady did, just because Lady died, and he was basically in a castle when Lady died. But
and Summer and / Bran, it goes back to the beginning where he's kind of just being a prick in this wolf, right? Like he thinks like he's the best.
I think he's just less domestic. He's talking about like being domesticated. He's like Lady was more being domesticated.
But I guess what you got to look at is the layer of Bran over top of it, and then Lady, if you're gonna layer in Sansa, right?
Yeah.
Like her whole thing was to go and be super refined.
She was probably always next to Sansa, right?
Yeah, which is like the interesting question people ask this like a lot. Like, okay, if Bran has these connections with his wolf, if Arya has like connections, if Jon has like some connection, like Sansa only had her wolf for like 2 or 3 months, I think. But like, what was there some connection that like that's why Lady was more docile than the other ones and like less angry, right?
Oh,
And,
probably.
like, more willing to be
I
domesticated.
mean, at the very least, like pets take after their owners, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we've kind of talked about this a little bit too now, so I don't know which sections we have, but
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, now that we're like learning more about the wolves, and, like how there's like.
I mean, we've
connection there.
talked a lot about Shaggy Dog and him being.
That's true. He's like mirrors
same
Rickon,
as-
like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. Yep.
Well, Rickon's kind of crazy. Shaggy's almost full on crazy.
Rickon is just kind of crazy. Yep. Isn't Rickon like biting people and like disappearing?
Yeah.
Just like not able to control emotions and whatnot. Yeah. All right. So he catches scent of a deer. He sneaks up on the pack. That there's a head male eating. There's a bunch of other ones and a little runt shit that notifies the group that, all right, Summer's there, and we get a little tumble match between Alpha, what used to be old Alpha guy, and Summer. And Summer wins. He actually killed one of them.
It's not just a one-on-one though. Like when you like read it like close, it's a little more like a pack versus Summer.
Yeah, it's like a 7-on-1.
Because it's 8, right? There's 8 total, but 3 run away, so then it's 5. And I think out of the 5, 2 include the head leading female.
Head and female.
There's only a few around, but like they jump in there when they can. They're just too
Yeah.
scared to most of the time.
I don't think they're too scared to. I think it's
The wolves aren't respecting the one-on-one. They're just afraid to get involved.
no. I think that's how those kind of fights work.
Well, the one gets involved and Summer rips his throat out. And then the rest of them are like, okay, fuck, we're not gonna get involved. We're gonna leave it to be a one-on-one. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I don't understand what your point is. It happens all the time.
Well, I was saying it wasn't. I don't think they're afraid. I think it's just kind of how pack tactics work, right?
It's like let our leader challenge the new
you
guy. I
each
don't think
individually looks for their opening. Yeah, you look for your openings for sure.
so. Sure, okay. And it's the leader's job to like be the main distraction, you're saying?
Create those openings,
Okay.
yeah, because he's the baddest wolf.
And it doesn't sound like he's not doing that bad of a job. The leader is holding its own for a little bit and not being older and not as big as Summer. It's rumbling a little bit.
But so this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about like Bran and the Starks and he even talks about the Umbers and the Karstarks. Like, sure, they're kind of the same breed, but they have different things going for them, right? And right now the Starks are kind of on their own, and so he is Summer, right? This is I don't know if this is like an accepted metaphor of this, but this is how I read the situation at least. And like the Umbers, like he doesn't know who's left, so maybe they like. And the Boltons, they know they're all fucked up, and they'll all join together, I guess, to try and take down the Starks. And he's like, here he's kind of realizing he needs to rise up.
I see that.
That's a crazy metaphor. I didn't think about it reading it, and I haven't looked it up per usual. So there you go.
That was kind of how I put it together, at least, because I was trying to make it make sense, right? Like, why was this wolf fighting? I said, like, what was the purpose of that part of this chapter? Otherwise,
Well, I'm crazy, so I always think about stuff like that too. But like normally, where my head goes to is like, okay, we have 8 wolves. Does this represent like 8 Starks, like in history that we know of, or like 8 Starks that are like wolves? To me, means Starks, like especially when it's like animals like this, right?
why not the Karstarks and the Umbers though, like the other Northmen?
Well, the Umbers are giants, and the Karstarks are a sunburst. Like they're not. That's not their. Like I relate it. To
I know,
their
but
So
they're
cities.
under
explain
the
it
wolf.
to explain it in your way, Nels, with just all wolves. What is it? Little fucking kid, little future little Brands fighting him?
I didn't have anything. I couldn't find anything. But like when I hear like Mira came back with a bunch of frogs and 2 fish, I'm like, okay, is there something with like 2 Tullys? Like that's
The
where
two- yeah,
my
it's just-
head goes to Tullys.
You're a fucking psycho.
Again, like that's where my head goes to. And I'm not saying I think you're right. I think I am dumb to look at it like that.
I think you probably catch a few there.
I'm sure there's some, but instead of going as metaphorically as you're going, I go more like literal. Let's match numbers to numbers of sigils to people and stuff
You're
like
just
that.
a psycho.
Yeah, I know. We all know.
Kyle's trying to read in and do his part. You're just a weirdo.
Both are equally weird, I think, and equally
No,
likely to be right in different situations, probably.
I don't know.
probably not. You're really probably never gonna be right in any way that you think like that. But
I bet he finds one in there.
There'll be
I'm
one.
going to take his side in an argument about the two of us here, I guess. So I think he could be right in that situation.
he's not right.
There's a chance. Like,
There's one that we talked about not too infrequently that I was already right on, and I'm gonna go put it in this post.
Nelson's never had an original thought, so everything he's looked up has been looked up by
That's
somebody
fair.
else. So
That's fair. Maybe he learned to look for these things because of something else.
for sure. Like I said, like I know we found one of these very similar. A
you
few
didn't find it though.
within like 30 chapters. We've
You
seen
didn't
one.
find it.
I didn't find it, but me and you have talked about something like this. So now it's opened my eyes to just matching
Hodor.
numbers.
Hodor.
All right. Hodor wakes him up.
Oh, Hodor wakes him up. Yes.
Very like Nelson. He's on original in his dialogue. He keeps saying Hodor, but he does say it with some different bounce to a step, almost like he's singing. year at
I
a
do
time.
like how like this is like 3 books in and he's finally getting a little bit of personality. Bran has been with this dude for quite some time.
George always says Bran are the hardest chapters, right? Just because it's like the youngest character, so he has to like yes, when he's writing a Summer, he has to convert the words into wolf words. But even like as Bran, like I think like the first Bran chapter when he sees Cersei and Jaime, he's like they were naked wrestling. You know what I mean? Just because like he doesn't understand what's going on, so he has to like dumb the world down too.
So the Hodor singing stuff isn't yet. I'm sorry.
Well, he did wake him up.
Yes, yeah.
Pretty much the way the fight ends is the head rolls over, submits, doesn't actually die, just submits. Bran eats first, Summer eats first, and then the rest of the wolves. Actually, I don't think he gets to eat. Right, he maybe takes one bite.
He's about
and then that's when
he's about to. I think his muzzle might have gotten a little wet, but
yeah.
I mean, Summer's probably eating. Bran just hasn't.
Exactly, yeah. And then that's when Hodor starts Hodoring. You want to read that quote?
No, he thought. No, I won't. It was a boy's thought, not a direwolf's. The woods were darkening all about him until only the shadows of the trees remained and the glow of his cousin's eyes. And through those and behind those eyes, he saw a big man's grinning face and a stone vault whose walls were spotted with niter. The rich, warm taste of blood faded on his tongue. No, don't. I want to eat. I want.
Hodor. Yep, then he wakes up. Bran wakes up. Let's find out what niter is. I didn't actually look it up. I think it's like lichen is how I take that, but I might be totally wrong.
It's either niter or a mineral deposit.
Oh, it's like a rock. It's a mineral form of potassium nitrate. You were right. Kyle, I feel like Kyle's very seldom right when it comes to the sciencey questions on the podcast.
I feel like that was a joke.
That was a joke. You were right about the lizard one last week.
What was the lizard one?
I was like, "What is a lizard?"
What's a,
like, it's a reptile with legs. I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right."
All right, so Hodor brings him back, and Jojen just immediately starts scolding him. Basically, like, "Hey, you've been gone too long." Bran's like, well, shit, yeah, when you eat the deer, I'm tired of this frogs and all this bullshit your sister keeps bringing back. But Jojen's more like, look, if you keep staying this long, there's a chance you might lose yourself and stay with Summer.
Yeah. So where have they been holed up? Where are they at right now?
Tumbledown Tower.
Tumbledown Tower.
And that's their made up name, right?
Yeah, Bran had named the place. Yeah.
The tower's fallen down, and they found a vault underneath it, so. They're chilling, I guess, a little bit underground. I don't know how far.
Yeah, exactly. Like a basement at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But it's completely concealed. It's super old, nothing around. No reason for anybody to find them.
Yeah.
Pretty good hiding spot, right?
Yeah. Little headquarters deal.
I got a map.
Pink square, baby.
Yeah, so not all of this is relevant for what we're talking about right now. We're just talking about where they are.
Actually, I kind of like this because I was very confused and I was hoping we had a way to see this. This is not how I pictured this. So
we don't know exactly where Tumbledown. So basically, I'll just give a highlight of the map. Is we'll get into some of it later. But black is Greyjoy's. X's is just taken or no good for help. I guess people are dead there. Yeah. So that's one of them is where Clay Serwin's dead, and the other one is Torn Square, which I guess is Ironborn, but we don't know who holds it right now. And then pink is Bastard of Bolton. And MC is just Mo Kalen, which is right off.
Are the Boltons just chilling out front of the Dreadfort, or are they actually
at one point they just say to the east? But yeah, the Dreadfort is their castle, so it makes sense. Basically, the reason for the map is Mira or Jojen, one of them at some point says, "Oh, we can't go east because the Boltons are there. We can't go west because of the Stony Shore. We can't go south because they have Mo Kalen and Torn Square." And
so, give me a guess of where the Tumbledown Tower is.
So Tumbledown Tower should be right to the north of Winterfell. I'm surprised.
Black Circle?
Not the Black Circle. That's also taken. That's Deepwood Moth. That's where Asha went. It's basically right north of Winterfell. Not that far, like a day or two's walk. So you can think of it like pretty much where Winterfell is as far as the map's concerned, but to the left of the mountains, into the woods, right? Not on the road, into the woods, and slightly north. I'll put a mark on it where that is before I put this in the video. Yep, there's map.
Interesting. I like how you showed us that map, but you had literally nothing to say about it.
Well, it was where Tumbledown Tower was. They're just basically they're right north of Winterfell.
Okay.
But good point. You're a good point. I did get off topic there.
And it comes into later when when it's really probably was an early map because it comes in later when they talk about their plans. But
That was premature for sure. 1 out of 10 guys have that problem.
Premature mapulation.
Exactly. 1 out of 10 guys.
Mira comes back with dinner and she's got 2 fish and a couple frogs. Nels, what's that mean?
I didn't find anything, but I don't know if there's a frog sigil.
Are the Kronog men not frogs? These two. What is their sigil?
Lizard lion.
Dope.
Which is probably like an alligator.
Okay.
If you look up their sigil on Google, it's an alligator.
I was thinking like the Jesus lizard or one of those frilled lizards.
Not 100% sure what that is, but
like a dinosaur, or I guess there's
almost like
lizards.
The one that spit on Nedry and Jurassic Park,
in Jurassic
but
Park.
but there's like little lizard ones that like.
Okay, a little bigger.
Yeah, so Mira comes back and he quickly thinks about the Walters because he hadn't seen them. And they used to make fun of people that eat frogs, saying that it would turn your teeth green and
Mossy pits.
Yeah.
Mossy armpits. And he was like, well, I didn't see them dead, but we didn't really look that hard to find all the dead people.
Exactly.
There was a lot of dead people. Is kind of what he think. Like,
what do you think, Kyle? Any idea about the Walters? We do have a clue. I'm considering telling you just because like it doesn't really matter and it was in the past, but there was a mention of them.
I think save the clue. I think it was probably Lewin. Probably said something. I don't think they're dead though. I don't. Maybe Bolton took them.
Well, you want me to say the clue, so I'm not going to tell you. But
yeah.
Okay, there's your guess.
Yeah.
The one thing I think we might have skipped over is when Bran first comes back. I think it's before Mira comes back. It doesn't really matter. But at one point, Jojen's like, "Did you mark the trees?"
Yeah. Talking about pushing stones, marking trees, like prove that you're in this wolf.
Bring us back some food. Like,
yeah,
that would be the best one. Bring us back a rabbit, so we're not eating these frogs. But yeah, if mark a tree is step one. So,
yeah.
But yeah, like Bran is, which is very telling, right? Like, so you said we didn't learn stuff. We don't explicitly learn stuff. Like Bran, we're learning Bran pretty much has no control. Like whether it's Bran actually has no self control, just like it's me, like with a big cake in front of me.
I mean, we don't really learn that. That's nothing.
What do you mean?
We're not going to put that on a billboard that Bran loses control when he's in summer right now. Like, sure. Like,
it's interesting to know that Jojen's been asking Bran, like, hey, do this, and he hasn't been able to.
Again, is it control or he's just like he says, he's like, well, fuck it. I don't want to mark trees and shit. Like, I'm having the time of my life when I'm in this. Like,
but at the same time, I think he forgets or like, that thought gets pushed away. So I kind of agree with Nelson that he is out of control.
I'm saying either way, whether it's like, oh, this magic, whoever has a stronger will is more in control, or it's Bran's a 9-year-old and doesn't have like the self-control personally, right? Just like I was joking, like I don't have self-control to like not eat a whole cake if it's in front of me. Does Bran not have the self-control to like not just go run when he's a wolf? Like, yeah, but it's not, how hard is it to slash one tree?
Like, I don't think he's out of control. Like, he's in summer and it's like, what's Summer doing? I'm just watching Summer act. It's more like I'm a little child. I have no attention span, and this is a lot more fun to run around and to hunt and to do that shit than I'm gonna mark a tree. Like, fuck off, Jojen.
Sure,
like,
but to my point is like if they were under attack, like right now, if they were under attack, somebody showed up and like they knew that they were under attack, would Bran have like the ability to bring Summer to help? Or like in that scenario, would he go
every time
they've got
run? Every time they've been attacked, these wolves have just appeared anyway.
Showed up, yeah.
You know what my point is though, like
yeah, but I know what my point is too. Is that it doesn't seem like they would need them to do that because every time they've showed up.
That's not what I don't care about that hypothetical.
It's not a hypothetical because it's actually happened.
Yours is a hypothetical. Ours isn't.
Mine is a hypothetical to get at the question: does Bran actually have the ability to, if he was in Summer, say that Mira was off in the woods by herself, right, and she was getting attacked? Like Summer wouldn't just go save her. Why would he give a fuck? He saved Bran, so she's off getting attacked, and somehow Bran knew about it. Would he have the ability to like go into her and go save his friend? Or as soon as he goes into Summer, would he be off chasing rabbits? Is my question. Like that's what I wonder about the control. Like, to your point, like if it's Bran inside and he's just like a kid, I want to go run. If it was someone in trouble, he'd go save him. Either way, I think it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think Jojen gets into some quotes about it later more, right?
Yourself or the wolf will remember yourself or the wolf will consume you, kind of.
But again, even if it's the wolf consuming him, like, is it I guess your argument, I don't know if this is what you're arguing or not because you just kind of ramble, but is the wolf consuming him, Summer's mind consuming him, or him just the body consuming him, and now he's trapped in the body?
Well,
that's
so
how I'm
here's
taking
something-
it more as him being trapped in the body than Summer's mind overpowering him.
Okay.
Here's
That's where I take it the other way. I took it more as like a mind battle than a, because to what you're saying, I'm sorry, Kyle, but like to what Jeff's point, I think it's a good point. There's one point, I think this gives hint to Jeff, is Jojen says, he's like, my eye's open, my third eye's open. And he's like, yeah, but it's open so big, like you're going to fall through.
Don't open it too far or you'll fall in.
Which doesn't quite make it seem like Summer just is winning this mind battle. That makes it more seem like, oh, he's just going to get lost in it and not be able to come back, which is kind of what Jeff's saying.
Like he's losing the path.
Well, that's what I was going to say here. So this is a point right here. Perfect for this argument. He says, well, you remember, and next time, mark the tree, any tree, it doesn't matter so long as you do it. He says, I will. I'll remember. I could go back and do it now if you like. I won't forget this time. So already, first off, he's like way too fucking pumped. He's like, I'll go. Don't make me go do it right now, bud. Like
For sure.
I'll hop back in Summer.
He's like, you just made me come out of there. I'm gonna go right back in. Anyway, the next line though, he says to himself, he says, but I'll eat my deer first and fight with those little wolves some more. So he's already like, yeah, fuck that task, man. Like, I don't
100%. It's a little bit that Bran is just a kid and wants to go run. I'm not saying that's 100% a factor. I'm saying is the other thing a factor. Is there anything else at play here? Is what I'm wondering.
It doesn't sound like Bran has had any fighting interest. Like when he's in Summer, it's not like he's been split with decision making. Like, oh, should I go fight this deer or should I be scratching this tree? It's just been boom, 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 which makes me think that there's no intellectual pull on him right now. Like he's just doing whatever he wants, and it just happens to be the wolf stuff.
exactly what the wolf wants. Yeah. He's like, oh, fuck, this wolf's cool. What are we going to do now? Oh, we're going to go sniff some stuff? Okay, all right, yeah. Oh, we're going to go follow this deer? All right, yeah. Like,
yeah, right now it's more a toy than a tool. It's like entertainment, not like, gotcha.
All right, so Mira's back with dinner, and Jojen's like, all right, like, we got to get ready to move. This is a safe place, but it might not be safe forever. We talked about the map, like all the enemies that are possibly around us, and we have a bigger purpose here. We got to go somewhere. And Mira's not happy about that. Mira's happy about staying here. She can hunt. There's food. They're safe. They're not around anybody. But Jojen's like, Bran needs a teacher, and I can't. I'm not good enough for him. Like he needs to go off there. So we need to steal some, or he wants to go by foot, and that's just kind of crazy, right? We just saw the map.
it's far.
If you have the picture of the map, look it up in the Discord. It's far as fuck, even just to get to the wall, and then they want to go beyond the wall. So,
and they're like, Mira's like, yeah, you remember how long the ride here was, and that wasn't even that far, and we were on horses.
Yeah, she's talking to Jojen from where they came from, which is pretty much right south of White Harbor on this map.
Okay.
So yeah, they want to go up to north of the wall. We can see the wall at the top of this map. And then I think here they basically say, Jojen basically says like, hey, here's what Lewin told us. Iron Men on the stony shore, and east the bastard of Bolton, Moat Cailin and Deepwood Mott fallen, the heir to Serwyn dead, and the Castellan of Torn Square. War everywhere, he said, each man against his neighbor. So pretty much everything he just said is rattled off there. I think what do they consider? What are a few things they consider, right?
Back to the metaphor while you think of that. This is kind of also what I was talking about with like the pack of wolves, right? Like all these wolves, sure, they might kind of fight among themselves, but Bran being the dire wolf, he shows up and they're all going to fight against him, kind of, right? Like
Okay.
that's kind of my point from before. They're kind of screwed. That's where I'm getting at why he hates the other wolves and not hates them, but Nymeria is cool with them.
Yeah. So the two people that I see Bran suggesting in my notes is he says that he agrees with Mira. They should steal some horses. I think she says that at some point, and they should go see House Umber at Last Hearth or Fat Wyman Manderley. And he remembers seeing some of these people at like the Harvest Feast that they had last book, right?
I definitely remember the Manderleys, yeah.
Yeah. So Last Hearth on the map is right above the Pink. If you go up to the woods area above the Pink, there's a castle in there. That's Last Hearth.
Gotcha.
And
so that's on the way to the wall anyway.
Yeah,
pretty much.
kind of on the way. Again, they're on the other side of this mountain range right now, though. They're in the Wolf's Wood. So
I feel like to get to the wall, they have to come to the other side.
Yeah, you're right. You kind of have to go through the mountains no matter what, because otherwise you hit the water. But yeah, so that's kind of their options, and that's what they don't decide to do any of that, because like Jeff said, they go on to talking about this teacher. Like Jojen needs a teacher.
Jojen needs a teacher for Bran.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, I can only really do so much.
And apparently they've been having this conversation because Mira gives this cool like turn of phrase. We've plowed this field before. Like we've already talked about this.
I think it's really interesting too is that Bran's like, why the fuck are we listening to Jojin so much? I'm the prince here. Mira's the oldest, and I think he's got a little bit of a crush on her.
Yeah.
She's the oldest, and she can hunt. Like, this guy doesn't do shit but dream and talk like a grandpa. Like, I should be in charge. He says that a little bit, and that's kind of when he breaks off in his plan. But
So he also starts talking about the three-eyed crow, right? Like, that's who they're going to see.
yeah.
Right, that's who Jojin wants to go see. Mira knows it. Bran thinks Mira knows it. And Bran's like, fuck no, that thing scares the shit out of me. I see it in my dreams all the time, and it's always just pecking at my forehead.
The thing picks my head apart.
It wants to kill me. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
fuck
like
that
telling me to
thing.
fly, and I'm falling.
Like,
Yeah,
why the
it's
hell would
awful.
we want to go there? Yeah.
Yeah.
But kind of weird. Like, have we heard that before, that we're going to go see this thing that keeps showing up in Bran's dreams? Like,
No.
I don't think so.
because by the end of the chapter, that's like their destination, right? Like, that's where
Yeah.
they're going.
And it's like, we don't even know where we're finding him. We
Yeah.
just know it's north
Brand's
of the
like,
wall.
maybe it'll find us, right?
Yeah.
But I think he has a
finding me
point.
in my dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else has been, and you even said it yourself, Jeff. The wolves always show up when they need them. Why couldn't this crow?
And Jojin's has been having some dreams. I think Bran says that earlier in the chapter. Like, everything he dreams does come true, except he dreamed me dead. I'm not dead. Except I am, because everyone thinks
Except
I'm
I am kind of dead.
dead. Yeah.
Maybe it's Mormont's crow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Corn. In the middle of all this, really quick, Hodor was going off, and he got sent off. He got sent outside the train with his sword. They stole
Yeah, this
3
is where
swords
he
from
was
the
singing.
crypts.
Hodor. So they sent him outside.
Yeah.
He's hitting a tree.
So Jojen's just worried again about him falling through the eye. We mentioned all this way out of order. Sorry for our ramble.
We're kind of jumping around, but it doesn't really matter.
It really doesn't matter. Jojen's worried about him falling, never coming back. He's like, I'm not a warg. I just like you need someone that knows what they're doing. And the best of these have been able to control everything, every animal, even the weird woods and the connections below it. So
Did you mention this dream about the winged wolf?
So Jojen mentions that back in like book 2, I think, when he first shows up. He's like, I told my father I had this dream. My father's like, okay, you go then. You're off.
Yeah. But I think it makes a little more sense now, right? Like back then we didn't. I mean, I kind of saw it coming, or maybe it was like just blossoming. But him actually warging into the wolf.
So we haven't said it yet, but what the dream is a winged wolf chained, right? Chained to the
Bound to the
ground.
earth by chains of stone, and came to Winterfell to free him. Exactly, yeah. And he says the chains are off you now, but you don't know how to fly. So I mean, pretty much you're the wolf. You need to get the wings, right?
My question, if I'm Bran, is like, what do you mean? Like, I'm doing it. I'm doing like what you're telling me to. Like, I'm doing the wolf stuff. Like, I'm listening to my dreams. Like,
But I think this goes back to the argument that you were making earlier. Like, you need to learn how to, like, this. Both of them are you, or like you are both.
yeah, you got to learn more how to be in charge.
Because we kind of skipped it. They had an argument earlier where Jojen was like, "You are Bran. That is Summer. You're 2.
Yes.
Sure, you're 1, but you are very much 2 people. You need to remember that."
He makes him like say it out loud, and Bran thinks
Yeah.
he's being dumb. And yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of the same thing here, right? Like,
Then they're asking like, okay, Jojen, is there one crow we're looking for? Are there a bunch of? Is this just like a species up north? We're gonna find like any one of these magical crows? Like, what's going on? And that's when there's like, yeah, they're gonna find us. So then they hear wolf howl to cut them off before Mira can answer.
that
Right.
was a long time ago.
Well, it's when Jojen says maybe he'll find us. Maybe the crow will find us. Then a wolf howls and cuts him off.
Yeah.
And they ask if it's
saying
summer.
we're kind of all over the place.
And they say no. Yeah, we're all over the place. But they ask if it's summer, and Bran says no. And he's like, I know the howl of my wolf. Plus, like, when I was in his skin, I ran him way too far away. Like, he couldn't.
Yeah,
get
there's
out,
no
even
way
if he
we're
wanted
hearing
to.
that now. That guy's my last hearth already. He could scope it out for him.
he drove him off the map. Yeah, he's fucked.
Yeah. So then it goes into some of the stuff that Jeff was saying, where he's like, "Hey, I'm the fucking prince. Why are we listening to Jojen? Doesn't make sense." Then Bran starts thinking about what he would do, and then it goes into kind of the map stuff we're talking about. Go to Wyman Mandalay or go to Last Hearth. Then they talk about like kind of what Bran remembers about these guys. So Wyman Mandalay wanted to build ships. Bran's like, "Oh, if we go there, we could get on one of those ships."
Yeah,
and
maybe
go
he
see
has them.
Rob. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Go to River Run.
He's got all chips on Rob being the goat, right? Like,
Yeah.
nah, Rob will save me.
at one
Rob's the
point, he
man.
thinks Rob's gonna come. Like,
yeah, he's
north
coming
and just,
north.
like,
He's
yeah,
gonna
just-
crush Iron Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll just flee in terror. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, they come down and like Mira's like, look, Bran, it's your journey. Like, we're just here to help you. Like, where do you think we should go?
Yeah.
And he's like, really? You're going to let me decide? And I think Jojen's even like, yeah, like, all right, like, it's your path. Let's go.
And then he thinks that they could go to their names. We've heard their names. Horsebane and Moore's Crowfood. Crowfood and Horsebane Umber were these two Umber brothers. I think they're brothers to the Lord.
Great John?
Yeah, you're right. And then there's the Small John. So they're brothers to the Great John, uncles to the Small John, I think.
Yeah, okay.
So this is when he's thinking of like basically where it can go. He thinks those two were fierce men, but they'd be loyal. He thinks Karstarks have a strong castle. Ned always said so.
Hother and Crowfood are Great John's uncles.
Great John's
it says
uncles.
The Great John's uncles.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
The Great John's uncles. Yep, cool.
Yeah. Just because you went into the family tree.
So the last things he just rethinks about Manderley, and he's like, Serwyn was closer, but Lewin said that they're dead, so can't do that. Then he's like, they all might be dead. Right? This is when Bran's like starting to realize himself. Like, everybody might be fucking dead. Like, I don't know what's actually happening anywhere. All I know is like shit went down near me. I don't know what happened anywhere else.
Well, yeah, and Theon is running amok here. Like, it's not like these people would just like died at war or off or something. Like these castles could be just as burned as Winterfell.
Exactly. We know of some that are taken. We don't know that the other ones aren't taken. Is pretty much what he realizes. But what he really makes his decision on is, it doesn't matter where I go, even if we stay here or go somewhere else. No matter what happens, I stay crippled.
Starts bawling. Boy starts bawling.
And he tells them he wants to fly. Take me to the Crow. That's how it ends.
Take me to the Crow, baby. Like, what a fucking demand.
Let's start walking.
So there's a few things we skipped over. One last quote I want to read. Let me see if there's anything else we missed real quick. I guess one thing I want to mention is the swords, right? So again, we knew this. They took swords.
They stole them from Brandon, the uncle, Rickard, the grandfather, and an old rusted one for Hodor.
Yep. Hodor's is bigger, right? Way bigger.
It's a huge sword. He can swing it all day without getting tired.
Yeah. When at one point, Jojen's yelling about Bran, about like how he can't control, how he bends to Summer more than Summer bends to him. He says it's because he's only 9. He'll get better when he's older. Even Florian and Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight weren't great knights at 9. Again, just two history guys. You know, I can't let 2 history guys go by.
Florian the Fool.
Florian, which we know is Sansa and Dantos are role-playing. And the last bit is when Jojen basically talks about like their powers, right? Bran says that Jojen should teach him, you're a green seer. No, Jojen said, only a boy who dreams. The green seers were more than that. They were wargs as well, as you are. And the greatest of them could warg into the skins of any beast that flies, swims, or crawls, and could look through the eyes of the weirwoods as well, and see truths that lie beneath the world. The gods give many gifts, Bran. My sister is a hunter. It is given to her to run swiftly and stand so still she seems to vanish. She has sharp ears, keen eyes, a steady hand with her net and spear. She can breathe mud and fly through trees. I could not do these things, no more than you could. To me, the gods gave the green dreams, and to you, you could be more than me, Bran. You are the winged wolf, and there is no saying how far and high you might fly if you had someone to teach you. How can I help you master a gift I do not understand? We remember the first men in the neck and the children of the forest who were their friends, but so much is forgotten, and so much we never knew. Mir took Bran by the hand. If we stay here, troubling no one, you'll be safe until the war ends. You will not learn, though, except what my brother can teach you. And you've heard what he says. If we leave this place to seek refuge at Last Hearth, or beyond the wall, we risk being taken. You are only a boy, I know, but you are a prince as well, our lord's son and our king's true heir. We have sworn you our faith by earth and water, bronze and iron, ice and fire. The risk is yours, Bran, as is the gift. The choice should be yours too, I think. We are your servants to command, she grinned, at least in this.
So a couple points on that. One is, Bran already just thought, like, man, we're only fucking listening to Jojen, right? And then here they are, like, just your choice, man. So he's already wrong right there. And then the other thing is, like, Mira seems so against, like, going north or whatever. And then here she's kind of like, yeah, but he can't teach you, so we need to go to the Crow. Like, it's so strange to me.
I think it's a little bit maybe selfish for Mira, like, oh, this place is like, we can chill here and be exactly fine if we're just going to stay in the state. But if Bran's going to decide, like, all right, I need to be the Winged Wolf, all right, we do need to go, even though I'm reluctantly going to take you there. But I think that's how she's feeling.
Okay.
But she might also be seeing the same thing Bran is, that, like, they're in the middle, and like you said, they're in the middle of war. Like, there's really no safe option. Like, stay here is the best option. Like, not, like, leave it, like, just stay at this, like, broken down tower that they're at, right? Just pretty much in the middle of nowhere where no one's going to look. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so again, we learned some stuff like green seers.
Well, I think, and I did want to mention, I think that's kind of what we're seeing north of the wall, right? We had people that were eagles and like doing weird shit. I don't know. I feel like that's more than what anybody else has done so far. So maybe that's more of what they're.
Asha was listening to the wind and interpreting.
Well, I don't even mean that. I just mean like this. Like we saw some wargs at the very least on.
Yeah, we saw
John
eagle,
killed.
But
I feel like he was more than that. At least that's kind of what they were hinting at. It felt like so.
John or the eagle?
The eagle guy. I forget his name. They said his name at the end.
Orel.
Yeah. He killed Oral.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oral. Carl. All right, now so let's wrap this thing up. What are we doing?
The only thing I'm thinking is Bran does ask Lewin at one point in the past about green seers. So I'm just wondering, like, should I read that quote just to remind us? But
Lewin didn't believe in dreams. He said dreams were just dreams. There's nothing to see into.
It's similar. Lewin set down his quill. No one truly knows Bran. The children are gone from the world, and their wisdom with them. It had to do with the faces in the trees, we think. The first men believed that the green seers could see through the eyes of the weirwood. That was why they cut down the trees wherever they warred upon the children. Supposedly the green seers had the power over beasts of the wood and the birds in the trees, even fish. That's it. It lines up with what Jojin said. Just kind of like a different thing.
Yep.
And he's talking about it from children. The children of the forest is kind of the connection.
There was even like a quick mention of like who was their allies, the first men.
Like when the first men warred against the children, they cut down the trees because they thought the trees were basically like
portals or
somehow helping the children. Yeah,
spyglasses or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, you want a prediction? Like, I feel like this is a generic one where like they go north, Summer gets in trouble, Bran has to figure out how to help Summer or use Summer to do something for him. Like, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's not a really a good prediction one. It kind of leaves us the same spot the last Bran one did.
Yeah, they're headed north for sure.
Like they're leaving. Yeah, they're going north. Exactly. So
correct.
So they're kind of ending out of danger, right? They are kind of heading out of danger at the very least.
Well, like you said, they're in the middle of a war. The Ironborn are actively trying to take over the north. Theoretically, not stopping at two castles.
Yeah, but I think eventually they're going to get like they're heading out at least. Like they're kind of at the center of it right now. Yeah. So any way they go is out, but.
And then in the direction of the wildling army, and
they're
whatever else. Is up there.
Exactly. Maybe they'll meet Bran or John rather. I mean, he did want to see
John
John
for the
again.
war up north and the war down south.
Yeah,
they can escape the war in the north, but you're just hitting another war no matter where you go.
And there's kind of a war out east, or there's a war coming from the east at the very least, right?
You're crossing oceans, yeah.
Yeah. So,
all right.
There we go. That's it. And chapter, good chapter. I don't think I have anything else to say. We'll see Kyle in the next one for who is it? I think this
Davos.
is the end. This is the end of all of our we've got all of our first, right? I think everyone that
Davos is definitely a second. Yeah.
So, all right.
Cool. Looking forward to that.
Which is crazy because it's like the 9th chapter. So it's like one of the things that people complain about in these later books, which is why the last 2 get split up. It's just there's too many characters.
Got to start killing people.
Bran was like the last chapter of Clash of Kings, and we haven't read a Bran chapter in 2 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was the last chapter of the last book.
We got to start reading faster.
Or killing people.
Yeah. So.
All right. Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. See you in the next one.
All right. Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
See you on the next one. Now, on to the spoiler section for Bran 1. Jeff, what you got?
Wow, where do we even begin after that clusterfuck of a non-spoiler section?
We were all over the place. We got it done, though.
So the first note I had was birds were watching above as he's doing.
A kite was circling.
Yeah, I was curious about the kite, but
that's just a bird of prey. I looked it up.
Just one bird, or like a group of birds?
I think it's a subset. It's like crow. This might not be accurate, but I'm pretty sure it's a subset, meaning like it's like crow, raven, or vulture. Any one of them could be a kite. Like if I don't know what kind of bird it is because it's too far away,
okay,
but I know it's black, I'll call it a kite. I think it's how that works.
Okay. Yeah, I never heard that, so I was like, why the fuck is there just a random kite in this world? But my note was about the birds flying above. It's like birds were watching above, is this the three-eyed raven warging over Summer always to just to try and protect, like, I think we believe the three-eyed raven is this thing that is connected with everything, right? So is it just controlling all these fucking birds that just happen to be watching Summer? I just thought it was coincidence.
I will say, first off, in the show, I think, or in the books, it's the three-eyed crow, not the three-eyed raven. Not that it really matters. Everybody knows what you mean.
No, I think it's the other way. They called it the three-eyed crow in this one. They call it the three-eyed raven in the show.
Yeah, you were saying raven, so I was just saying it was.
Well, I just said birds. Or okay, sorry, three-eyed
No,
crow.
you're good. Yeah,
I did. I probably did.
It doesn't matter. But the one thing I want to talk about is like, what is the three-eyed crow? And like, so when you're talking about who controls the birds, my first thought goes to Cold Hands, right? Because the way it works, and I've been like going through stories ahead of us, so I can remember some stuff. I'm pretty sure, yeah, when Sam kills the other, he's not with Gilly. He's with Small Paw and Gren. That's why like Gren like actually saw him kill the other, and he's like, that's why he gets Sam the Slayer, and it actually sticks. Like, how else would anybody know that? Sam's not boasting of that, you know what I mean? When he's with Gilly, I think they get in trouble, and basically they're at they might be at White Tree. They're at some village with a weirwood, and like a ton of crows come into the tree, and then Cold Hands comes up, saves Sam and Gilly. So it seems like he has more control of the actual birds than
I don't know. You're saying the three-eyed crow?
I don't even want to call him the three-eyed crow anymore. Blood Raven.
Okay.
That's Blood Raven underground. The three-eyed crow is we don't know. And the reason I'm separating those two is because there's this quote that I'm sure I've read this in spoiler sections before, but when Bran first gets to that guy, he says, "Are you the three-eyed crow?" Bran heard himself say, "A three-eyed crow should have three eyes. He only has one, and that one red." Bran could feel that eye staring at him, shining like a pool of blood in the torchlight. Where his other eye should have been, a thin white root grew from an empty socket, down his cheek and into his neck. "A crow." The pale lord's voice was dry. His lips moved slowly, as if they had forgotten how to form words. "Once I, black of garb and black of blood." The clothes he wore were rotten and faded, spotted with moss and eaten through with worms, but once they had been black. "I have been many things, Bran. Now I am as you see me, and now you will understand why I could not come to you except in dreams. I have watched you for a long time, watched you with 1,000 eyes, and one. I saw your birth and that of your Lord Father before you. I saw your first step, heard your first word, and was part of your first dream. I was watching when you fell, and now you are come to me at last, Brandon Stark, though the hour is late." So the important point there is when Bran says, "Are you a three-eyed crow? Are you the three-eyed crow?" He's like, "A crow? Yeah, it was once. I wore black. I was a man of the night's watch." That's what he thinks.
We've definitely talked about this before.
100%.
Yeah, but there's a real chance that they are just taking this three-eyed crow, this literal three-eyed crow that visits them in their dreams, and just giving Blood Raven this three-eyed crow name. Like, it's not like this three-eyed crow is in Bran's dream and is like, "I'm the three-eyed crow. I'm in this tree," type thing, right? Am I right by saying that?
Well, they call him the three-eyed crow because in their dream, Bran actually sees a crow with three eyes.
That's what I'm saying.
So what you're
it's almost like I'm saying they've given this a nickname. Like, jraijin has been visited by the three-eyed crow in a dream.
Sure, but would he be this confused though? Like, so say you're Blood Raven and you're visiting Bran.
Does he look in a mirror as he's taking over these dreams?
So okay, now you're getting to it. A lot of people think that this just means that he, for some reason, doesn't know what he looks like when he shows up in a dream.
Well, yeah, I completely agree with that.
I don't think that's impossible. I think it's possible, but it seems kind of weird.
I think the second part of that quote really confirms that he is everything that they thought he was.
So he says, "I've definitely been watching you in dreams for forever." But the other kind of thing that,
and I've seen you with 1,000 eyes, like that. He's been controlling.
Yep.
This stuff.
I'm sure this is where I went with a theory last time, probably. But where this theory goes is if Blood Raven isn't the three-eyed crow, then what is another thing that keeps appearing in Bran's dreams is this weirwood, right? And why would he want to show up as a weirwood? Because at the end of the day, he wants Bran to come to this massive weirwood in the north. So like, I'll show up as a weirwood, and then eventually he'll realize like, okay, that's where I'm at. And that kind of makes sense. Bran has a lot of weirwoods talking to him in his dreams. And Jon, right? When Jon has that ghost dream, he hears Bran's voice, but it's through a weirwood sapling. So again, maybe that's Bloodraven making that shit happen. I would think it almost has to be because John and Bran on opposite sides of the wall, and we know the
Yeah.
wall stops magic. So there's like a whole like, how the fuck is that shit happening
Well,
there?
I'm just gonna say this, like, and I don't know. This is just my interpretation. When he's in the weirwoods, it's just like he's working into other animals. Like, if I'm gonna believe, and this is, I guess, the foot I'm standing on. I've not looked up anything, and nor am I going to.
Yep.
When he's in these dreams, he's the three-eyed crow. Maybe he doesn't perceive himself as a three-eyed crow. He's just there.
Okay.
When he's using these other items or animals or dreamish things like the weirwood, he's able to warg into that weirwood just like he would in real life in a dream. So
Yeah. I think what you're thinking is like a lot of people think that he's just that. The theory that I was going down was that if he is the weirwood, right? So say that he does know how he presents himself. You're in the camp that he doesn't.
I'm saying that he can choose that weirwood. I'm going to now put myself into that weirwood.
Okay, so
if I'm just not warging
you
anything,
can't be saying that, because if you think that he can choose what he makes himself look like, then he would know what Bran means when Bran says, "Are you the three-eyed crow?" He'd be like, "Oh yeah, I visited you when I was choosing to look like a three-eyed crow."
well, that's not what I'm
20
saying.
times.
I'm saying when he's just three-eyed crow, he's not choosing to be anything. He's just himself, and it just happens to be in this.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
if he's using something for a purpose, like he's using this weirwood for Bran's face, right, in John's
Okay.
dream. If he's just being the three-eyed crow, he's just, I don't know, being the three-eyed crow.
And I guess it makes
like
sense.
maybe that's his original, like, warg thing now. Like, he was Bloodraven with one eye, and he fucking knew all this shit, and like, all right, like when he's just, I don't know,
I think you're a lot of people think
it's very curious of why he said crow ? Sure, that's
And
very
again,
curious.
what would be cool would be like to have like of everybody in the fandom who like looks at these theories to like have the theory and see like what percentage of people believe what. Because I think like a big camp believe what you believe, that he is a three-eyed crow. He just doesn't exactly, for some reason, know what he looks like when he visits Bran. I think a large number of people will think that, which I think is kind of what you're saying. For some reason, he just doesn't know what he looks like. I think if you go down the other route where he's the weirwood, he's
Okay.
being the weirwood, and he's only the one in the weirwood dreams. I think I've kind of been looking out for that so far. Maybe not religiously, but I know I've at least a few times when I've seen weirwoods, I'm like, it makes sense if this is Bloodraven. And when I've seen the crow, I'm like, it makes sense if this isn't Bloodraven.
It doesn't.
So hold
like
on. So if you go into he's the weirwood, then the question is who's the three-eyed crow?
And it just doesn't make sense to me that it's Cold Hands.
It's not Cold Hands. That's not where the theory goes. The theory goes into it's time traveling Bran doing all this to get Bran to get himself back there.
It's all the same to me. It's all the same. The three-eyed crow is going to teach Bran how to be time traveling Bran. So then at some point he is the three-eyed crow who is time traveling Bran. That's all the same. That's all the same.
Because he becomes the three-eyed, because Bran becomes, well, I think the show, well, now I'm starting to 100% buy this, because at the end of the show, what does Bran always say to everybody? I'm the three-eyed crow. I'm the fucking three-eyed crow. And,
Right.
And here in the books, Bloodraven literally is confused when he's like, "Are you the three-eyed crow?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know what that means." But when Bran in the show is straight up saying, "I'm the three-eyed crow," so now we have this question of who is the three-eyed crow.
All right, so let's say
It's
this: Bran is the three-eyed crow. The Bloodraven might not be the three-eyed crow.
Does it matter because they want the same thing? Is what you're
they're
saying?
There's not enough book to bring in this other. There's not.
Why do you
just
think
can't
George's
be.
been writing for this long? Maybe that's what's going on. Is he just so confused?
Like, we can't add another. We're just at the iceberg of the maesters and the glass candles.
Yeah.
We're just at the tip of the iceberg there.
Yeah.
We don't have time to now truly introduce, other than at the climax of the story, Bran is now this time traveling thing that can figure it all out.
I agree, but I think it also would explain why it's taking so long.
It's already taking so long because they've got people across a globe right now.
But we won't fuck with this theory because we already talked about this theory, I'm sure. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this again.
All right. My next one is the weirdness about Summer thinking of ghosts not being a part of it.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think it's probably just a hint that John is actually
not their actual brother.
Yeah, I mean, R + L = J is almost proven, right? I like to think it's not true because I think it's fun to just talk about random shit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for some random times I've been like, boom, I feel like I've changed multiple times on John. I feel like I cracked the code one chapter. I'd have to go back and even figure out what chapter it was.
Danny being Nisa and Nisa.
Yeah, why? Because it was because of something Dawn rose over her heart or something like that. Like there was a strict line. I stood on that hill. I don't know if John being a somebody was a part of that or not, but yeah, I mean, it almost gives a little bit to the fact that John is a little bit Stark, but not this line of Stark.
Well, the thing that doesn't make sense is like, is this actually talking about the wolves? Like, is this talking about the actual wolves relationship? Like,
Right.
Ghost can't not be of that litter. Ghost
Right.
has to be of that litter, right?
Well, here's the thing. Did the mother of all of the Stark, let's just call them the Stark wolves, the 5 Stark wolves, carry Ghost to her birthing spot or where this deer killed her, and then just like she was like just carrying Ghost in its mouth, dropped it down, and then died, and here are these 5 other wolves. Like that would be the only way. It's not like Ghost is just laying in the field as a fucking baby direwolf, not born by anybody. Like I don't know. Like it's
I agree. It doesn't really make sense how that could possibly happen.
I feel like we went down a rabbit hole of how they even got these dire wolves from north of the wall, even got south of the wall. Like I don't remember. They probably said that this thing climbed through the tunnel or swam across the lake. I don't know, but
Night Fort, the Bridge of Skulls, or ice floating through the water, I think, are the 3 ways you would do it.
Why couldn't it just swim?
Because it's too cold, I guess. But
I don't know.
I guess if you wait until the right
cold?
time, if you wait until the right time of year, maybe it wouldn't be too cold. I'm not sure. It'd be pretty cold. I don't think that water up there would ever get too much, like above 50. But I don't know how.
Was Jorah never swimming in the oceans of around Bear Island?
Probably not. I don't think so. Maybe when it's 50 degrees. How cold is it when they do like the polar bear plunge? Like how cold is that water?
I think like 40 or so. I don't know.
I don't think it gets much above
But you
that.
can't swim in it. Like
they get summer snows. Like it snows in the summer, which means it's like around 32 degrees. Yeah, but
there's days where it's got to be like, all right, whatever. I have no proof. I'm just saying. What do you think? What John is a side Stark, but not a full Stark, or not a Ned Stark?
R plus L equals J is what it's hinting at. It's that John's not actually a sibling, not half sibling or anything, not a sibling. It could still be Brandon, which I think is more likely than Ned anyway.
Do you think it's more likely to be Brandon than Lyanna?
It would be more likely. No. It's probably Lyanna. 90%, 95% is Lyanna. The other 5 is more likely to be Brandon than Ned.
Brandon and who?
Ashara.
Brandon and Lyanna?
Brandon and Ashara. There's a little sliver of that pie that's Benjen and Lyanna, but no Brandon and Ashara and Lyanna.
Why is Benjen even at the wall? Why is Benjen at the wall? Because he had sex with his sister.
Yeah, we're skipping it. Waters, what's going on? Where are the Waters?
They're with Ramsay, I think.
Yeah, the clue that Kyle had that I could have given him is in the last Theon chapter, basically right before I think he gets punched in the face, falls on the ground, is fading to black, and he hears Ramsay shout, "Bring me the Waters, kill the rest."
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a clue though. Manderley warships. This is something that people think that we still. Well, Brandon mentions that Wyman Manderley is building warships. Couldn't say that's right. This still hasn't come to anything. This was mentioned early in book 2 when Bran is at the Harvest Feast. They're like, "Hey, Umbers and Manderleys, let's do warships."
Right. They started cutting down. They were cutting down every tree that they could to make ships, right?
And people, and I guess again, this is stuff that I've just learned from looking at theories. I guess people were thinking like, "Oh, these warships are going to come in and save Robb. Like they're going to be huge in book 3." This is what people were thinking at the end of book 2, and then there's no mention. And then whole book 3 goes by, no mention of these warships. Then I think in book 4 or book 5, Davos shows up and he mentions that there are some warships at White Harbor, but then he gets captured, and we're at, there's still nothing.
I mean, it would make sense that they would still have the ships.
People always say like Chekhov's warships and Chekhov's wolf pack, right? Like Nymeeria's wolf pack's out there. There's these like random navy out there.
All of these resources that have just been sitting around or just waiting for Jon to become King of the North.
I think that is part of the grand Northern conspiracy, which is like basically there's a few slight houses working to get Jon elevated because they know of Robb's will. And the warship will be part of that.
It's interesting.
But yeah, we hear a part of it. I don't know how often we actually hear about the warships, but I know that's a thing that people think like these have to come into play. They keep getting mentioned.
And
So
who does Manderly feed people to?
so we were talking about this.
Bolt Ramsey? Does he come back to Ramsey and feed?
When I was editing one of the more recent episodes, I actually thought about this. We were talking about guest right, I think, in the John one, and we were saying like, when does it end? Because Mant says like, oh, I was safe for a night.
Safe for a night, right?
Manderly, you're safe while you're under their roof, because Manderly waits till they leave.
Who leaves?
Manderly's has phrase there when Davos shows up,
Right.
and he throws Davos in the dungeon because he wants to look
To
loyal
protect
to the
them.
crown.
Okay.
While the Freys are there, because the Freys are loyal to the crown.
Right.
So, but then when he goes to talk to Davos, he has this great speech where he's like, "The North remember." That's where the North remembers comes from. Is the speech. He's like, "I'll say this bullshit to the Freys to their face in that dinner, but never think that I don't remember what they did at the Red Wedding." And then when they leave, all the Freys, we see a bunch of Freys at White Harbor, and then they leave, and then the next thing we know, we see them in Theon chapters at Winterfell when they come to meet Roose. They're siding with Roose because he killed Davos, and you know what I mean. Like he faked all this shit, like he's on their side. But when he gets to Winterfell, there's a few less Freys than left with him, and he serves some other Freys these pies.
Right.
And that's why we have these Wyman Manderly meat pies. People think that he basically just waited till, okay, we're outside my house. Guess right, it's done. You're
Kill
fucking
him,
dead because
pie.
It's only a few of them, and then exactly. So
That's
I think
awesome.
that means that guest right extends basically while you're under the roof, you're good. Once you leave my house, like once we're like, okay, see you later, see you next time, then stab in the back, you're good.
Because the phrase stayed for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty cool. I like Manderly and the possibility of what his character is going to be, because he wasn't a character at all in the show. So the last one I have is just the swords. I think it's unique to think that they took Brandon and Ricard's, and then there's this third one what they didn't mention, and it's huge, right?
Which means it's older. Do you remember what the swords are there for? Because I think what's more interesting about the swords is like the lack of the swords is more interesting than the swords themselves.
It's protection, right? Like
it's like to keep the spirits in their graves or something like that. But when we think about what we know about like the show where he's like this, right?
Yeah.
What if only the graves without swords are the people that come up? Then we get Brandon, Ricard. We get the two characters that we know, which makes sense. Why it'd be interesting to see them as others. And we give like some mystery one, which again, just to me is George as a gardener. He's like, it's going to be some older king. We'll decide later who it'll be and why it'll be.
Maybe
important.
It's the Night's King or whatever.
Exactly. Some important Stark in history I don't know about yet, but let's just make it an old sword.
Or Bran the Builder that comes back and he's just a smart zombie.
Exactly. Something like
time traveling Bran the Builder and time traveling Bran meet and fight. I was thinking more so like, is this third sword that Hodor's swinging, is the sword because it's Hodor's? Like, is there anything to one? Is that the fucking sword of the morning? Like they just hid this thing down in the fucking crypts, and it's like, but it's been rusted.
I guess we don't know where it is right now. If we think it's at Starfall, but we don't know where it is.
I don't know.
But yeah, like that's interesting. Like maybe this sword becomes important later when Hodor is holding the door.
Is this giant sword that Hodor is holding important?
A lot of people thinking it might even be confirmed through like interviews or something that like George said, yes, the hold the door thing is from me, but it's not like that. He's not actually literally holding the door. He's gonna be like holding
People
as
off.
in like holding people off, like fighting. And what that is Bran actually more warging into him doing the fighting because Bran always wanted to be a knight, which again makes sense. And then yes, the sword could be like basically just like the huge sword from like video games that like isn't actually it's too big for real men to hold.
Chopping actual people down.
Yeah, he's like the mountain size, so it doesn't even matter.
Those are all my notes. I don't have anything else.
The last thing I had was just like when you were coming at me for like thinking about the number of wolves and the number of fish and stuff like that. There's definitely times where that matters. Like and I don't remember exactly, but I think in a recent Arya chapter, Roose went out hunting for wolves because they were howling and keeping him up all night. And he came with like 2 wolf pups that he had skin made into gloves. And then the next chapter, Bran and Rickon go missing and Theon burns them. You know what I mean? So, again, which isn't like, yes, they didn't actually die. And I might be wrong. It might not be that 100% of a parallel, but I think sometimes you're giving me, and you're right that I go crazy sometimes, but you're also wrong that 1 in 100 times there's something.
You're gonna hear like 2 flies fall onto a piece of shit and eat it, and you're gonna come out that it's two maesters that did something in Flea Bottom and yada yada. Who knows
This is
what
totally
you're
off topic. We got into a fight. I don't even remember if it made it into the podcast or if I edited it out.
definitely want it.
When I was saying something about a frozen stream in a John chapter and related it to a Chet chapter. In the Sam chapter we get, when he runs off the Fist of the First Men, he notes that he runs over the frozen stream.
It's all frozen.
And I think it's completely frozen that time, which to your point means that, yeah, the whole point of the stream was to show that it was partially frozen the first time, now fully frozen, and I'm an idiot trying to make a parallel.
Yeah, fuck off.
Frick off, Randy. All right, but we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, leave us a comment, tell us how stupid we are, and thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.